You know what the biggest mistake most people make? That guy. You know that one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they're on camera is that they talk to the camera instead of to someone like a human that's behind the camera or on the other side of the video. Today I'm going to share with you the top mistakes that people make when they're talking to camera while making content. But more importantly, I'm actually going to show you how to fix those mistakes. Now, I'm not just pulling this info out of my butt. These tips aren't made out of nothing. It's based on my experience as an actor, singer, improv coach, and content creator for well over a decade. So remember, first things first is remember you're talking to a human, not a camera. The whole point of making these videos is to get your message out to a person, a human person. So if you're talking like you're talking to a machine or a glass lens, then you're not going to sound like you're talking to a person. You're not going to be as relatable or connected. You obviously don't know their name or where they are. It doesn't really matter. If you're having trouble thinking of somebody, picture your friend or your spouse. And if that's difficult, then imagine you're talking to me, your friendly neighborhood improv coach. Avoid formality. Try not to use industry jargon. Don't use any buzzwords if you can help it. Try to keep it really conversational. Like the way I'm talking right now is how I would talk to my friend or my neighbor or my coworker. Using buzzwords instantly kind of pulls you out of it and you go, oh, this guy, is he trying to sell me something? Or, oh, I didn't know what that means. And, generally when you're having a conversation with somebody, you're not busy checking the dictionary or Googling what words mean. You're usually just having a conversation. Also, remember to ask questions. Make it feel like a real conversation, a two-way street that goes back and forth. Even when you're making a video, you can still ask questions, right? You can pause, you can wait for a mental response from the viewer, and then you continue with your regular pace of conversation. Having that pause after you answer a question, even if you know that no one's going to answer it, helps to simulate real dialogue. All right, a really important thing about having a conversation is actually body language. When we talk with somebody, we're using our facial expressions, hand gestures, we change the way we stand, we do some smiling maybe. Just make sure that you are being alive, using your body, but try not to overdo it, because if you're going full-on karate, trying to imitate Rex Kwon Do from Napoleon Dynamite, then you're going to just be very distracting, and it might even mess up your autofocus. All right, contrary to popular belief, in content creation, you actually want to look down the barrel of a lens. You want to make that eye contact with that human that you're imagining in the back of the video. If you're really struggling with it and you're finding that you have to look at the monitor or your script, then make sure that when you're delivering, at least look at the camera. Or you could be like very famous YouTubers, Casey Neistat, and just wear sunglasses. That way you can't tell where your eyes are looking and it doesn't fully break that immersion of conversation. Avoid being monotone. Avoid being robotic. Try not to speak in a very mundane, boring way, because that's usually not how you talk in real life. You're probably going to have different pitch and tone. You're going to speak with excitement and solemnness and pausing and breathing. A good trick actually related to breathing is to just remember to breathe when you're making content. A lot of people don't realize that they're not breathing properly and they take shallow breaths and then suddenly they're running out of breath and they're talking, and then they run out of breath and it sounds like this and they go into what's called vocal fry. So make sure you're breathing, make sure you pause. You can really strategically place pauses in your script to increase the impact of a line. All right, when you're redoing takes, this is super, super important, especially for anyone who has an editor or you do your editing yourself. You may already know this, but when you flub a line, you don't want to just immediately repeat that word or that line. You want to take a second, go back maybe one full sentence, maybe two full sentences, and then continue from there. A, it helps with the editor, and B, it actually keeps the energy feeling more organic, feels more natural. Instead of just cutting and saying the word, you say the full sentence and you can actually play out that sentence mentally and as you speak. It just feels smoother and more organic. All right, this is a big one that I teach all of my improv students, and it's to project your voice. Make no mistake, projecting isn't yelling. You're not screaming at the top of your lungs. Projecting just means that you're using more power to let your voice travel further. So imagine, even though I have my microphone right here, I'm well aware that the microphone's right here, I'm still gonna speak in a projected voice so that my voice carries all the way past the camera. So imagine that friend, that spouse, that me that's behind the camera that you're talking to. I'm actually not immediately behind the camera. I'm actually maybe 6-7 feet away from the camera. So I still have to be able to hear you, but I don't want you yelling at me. So projecting just means to use more power, have good posture, and speak with energy. All right, filler words is a big one. Typical filler words are these kinds of noises and sounds. It might be difficult to get them all out immediately, but if you're aware of them, at least you can do a take again so that you can eliminate it. It can be natural for that to happen in real life conversation, but when you're presenting on camera and you do a lot of ums and ahs, it actually makes you seem like you don't know what you're talking about. So in regular standard conversation, it's okay to not fully know what you're talking about. You can take some time and think about it before saying it, but when you're filming, you can work through the script, you can work through the lines, eliminate the ums and ahs, and suddenly you sound like you know exactly what you're trying to say. Same thing goes with things called crutch words. That would be like, right, so. These words are often used in excess and to the point where it can actually be a little bit annoying. So if you're catching yourself saying right at the end of every sentence or so before you begin every sentence, try to work on acknowledging them and eliminate them as you go. And let me take a guess. I bet that you say so a ton at the beginning of every line. If that's right, then you owe me a smash that like button and subscribe. That's the worst thing I ever just said to anybody. All right, last but a very, very important piece is people often jump into a video recording without knowing what they're going to talk about. And it's very obvious. We can tell, you can probably tell when you're editing it, and it could be as simple as not fully writing a script, but just writing bullet points. Like, actually, that's what I've done. I've just written out my bullet points and I'm riffing off the bullet points. That makes it so that I know what topic I'm supposed to talk about next, but at least I have the openness to improvise and talk more naturally so that I'm not trying to memorize a script, memorize exact wording, because chances are you don't write the same way that you talk. So having bullet points lets you know what the subject is, but then expand in a natural and organic way. It also helps to quickly look over your script or notes or bullet points at least once or twice before you start recording. That way it doesn't seem like you're looking or reading it for the very first time once you've hit record. And that's it. With just a few minutes of your time, you learned a handful of tips to improve your speaking on camera. If you want to learn more, make sure you subscribe and follow. And if you think this video can help even just one person, go ahead and share it. If you want to chat more about deliverability on camera or social media strategy, feel free to book a call. It's always free and I love talking. Bye.